Well, day before 2019-2020 begins, Elizabeth Warren, the first major Democrat to launch an exploratory presidential committee. Senator Warren, a proponent for strict Wall Street rules, bigger government. Is she going to be the face of the Democrat Party? To radio show host Ben Kissel and GOP pollster John Thomas. Good to see you both. So, Ben, I watched this 4-minute video, and I was surprised there wasn't one word about Donald Trump in it. She was focusing on the issue. She was focusing on the economy.
Right.
Do you think it'll stay that way, or do you think it'll get more personal?
Well, it has already begun, hasn't it? Pretty crazy timing here coming from Elizabeth Warren. I think she wanted to get in early, set up a national infrastructure, and try to recorrect or reshift the narrative that has been sort of going around, swirling around her character, specifically when it comes to her Native American claims. She claimed to be a Native American. She even authored recipes in a book called Pow Wow Chow. And of course, Donald Trump put her on in the national conversation regarding, that issue. Then, of course, she released the DNA test. It didn't really work out in her favor.
No.
So I think she's trying to shift the narrative and come back and reestablish herself as a pillar for the progressive left.
Well, and John, that's maybe a bonus, maybe a minus, because when you start adding up everything that she wants in terms of her big government policies, from universal income. She's a proponent of that, at least on one of the plans, to Medicare for all or socialized medicine. I mean, she's talking about big bucks. We're already $22 trillion in debt. Is that going to be a weakness for her?
Well, it certainly is a weakness for her if she gets through a primary to a general election. But the heart and the soul of the Democratic Party, it does not care if they tax and spend us into oblivion. That's not a concern of theirs. I think Elizabeth Warren's challenge here is, let's just keep this in perspective. She essentially announced, you call it an exploratory committee, call it whatever you want, she's running for president on New Year's Eve, a terrible day. Generally speaking, in our political strategy business, you want to wait as long as you can to announce, because the sooner you pop your head up, the sooner people start taking shots at you. The reality with Elizabeth Warren is she, a year ago, was the number one in the polls. She has fallen so far down. She's stuck in second and third tier candidates. She has to resurrect her campaign.
Well, why
this is
that?
a move of desperation.
Let me
not
ask
strength.
Ben, why is it? Why is it that she slipped so far so fast? And if she has, why did she announce so early? Because I think John's right.
Well,
it's usually the early comers that are the first ones to drop out.
I just want to push back a little bit on the Democrats' tax and spend. The last time we had a balanced budget was under a Democratic presidency.
With a Republican Congress, you're right. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks to Newt Gingrich, yes.
When it comes to Elizabeth Warren, I think Bernie Sanders is taking a lot of her key supporters, right? So naturally, he's polling higher than she is in Iowa. Move On just came out with a poll that has her behind Bernie, behind Beto, and behind Biden, just a little bit above another progressive sort of hero to some degree, Sherrod Brown. So there is a crowded field of progressives in the Democratic Party. And I think the name recognition, again, going back to the feud that she had with Donald Trump, there is just a lot of fatigue when it comes to the nicknames, when it comes to the gutter politics, when it comes to the pigs rolling around and you know what they roll around with. I think there's a lot of people who see, if she would get the nomination, more of that to come. And I think there's a lot of fatigue in that way.
Well, John, let's focus on the president's trouble with the current economic situation. Again, I think the economy is very strong, but if it does slow down significantly in 2019 and going into 2020, the president could not win a re-election. I mean, I think that's pretty clear from what happened to G.H. Bush. If he needs a strong economy, he needs that as one of the pillars of his campaign. And again, I do think it's stronger than the market would indicate now. But doesn't that kind of increase the possibility of him, before his re-election really kicks into high gear, of making a deal with China? Because that alone could get the market cooking again.
You're totally right, and look, it was a gamble for him to do this. It took, I think, a spine of steel to deal with the political consequences of it. But if he can make a deal with China, if the economy roars back, and I think I agree with you, it's still strong, but if the stock market roars back, it puts him in a good position for re-elect. But furthermore, it depends on who the Democrats get through their primary process and nominate. If they nominate somebody like an Elizabeth Warren or a Beto O'Rourke or Bernie Sanders that explicitly say they want to raise taxes. Well, Trump now also with the Democratic Congress has a villain. He has Nancy Pelosi. He can blame other people. I think it was a harder argument before because voters said, hey, the Republicans are in power. So it's not done at all. But Trump certainly, it would be great if he had a strong economy.
Hey, John
and
Thomas,
I think he will.
We got to leave it at that. Ben Kissel, good to see you both. Thank you very much for coming in. Happy New Year to
Happy
you
New
both,
Year.
too.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Appreciate it.